Alright guys, here's our problem today. We have this hanging utility heater that's squealing when it starts, and it doesn't want to heat very well either. Looks like an old Reznor unit. I'm guessing 15, 20 years old, roughly. So, the other thing too is, I'm not sure if this is an actual working thermostat. This thermostat looks like it's about ready to fall apart. So, first things first though, I think I'm just going to jump this unit out and see what the squealing noise is. If I had to guess, it would be that belt right there. So, let's jump out that thermostat, start it up, and see what we're dealing with. Alright, traced out some wires. This is definitely the thermostat. Let's crank it up to 70. Heard the gas valve click. Sounds like our unit ignited. I can hear it sparking. That belt is in horrendous condition. I can hear a flame, so it's definitely lit. We just gotta wait for the blower to kick on. I believe there's probably a thermostat inside that's gonna let us know when the heat exchanger or the inside compartment is up to temperature, so we're not blowing cold air throughout this place. Oh look, we do have a service switch. Fantastic. Yeah, that belt's not moving. All right. Alright, so for all you new guys out there, when your belt starts to look like old mud in a desert, you should probably replace it. So, I'm going to pull this off here, throw a new belt on there, and then see what we're dealing with. Alright guys, as Chris Stevens always says, big picture diagnosis. So, I'm going to scope this heat exchanger real quick before I go any further. If I can get a decent picture of it. I've learned this requires a very steady hand. So, now this first one here that we're looking at, I was able to get a flashlight and a mirror on. Didn't see anything crazy. As you can see, there's a little bit of rust buildup on the end fins. But I didn't see any actual cracks or weak spots. It's not the best resolution I've ever had, but don't like the look of that. Alright guys, here's where we stand. I was just noticing this is a 1983 unit, so we're about 36 years old. Now I found a belt that sort of fits. I'm not going to leave it on here permanently. I might just turn it on once I tighten it up. I'll probably turn it on and just check for CO emissions coming out the supply vent, because I couldn't get good enough eyes on the heat exchanger to say yay or nay. It is rusted pretty bad though, so I'm leaning more towards nay. But if you listen, this other thing we got going on here, and the motor's got to be replaced too. It's knocking, squeaking. See how fast it stops? Yeah, so that motor's got to be replaced. This blower's not as bad, but it definitely comes to a slower stop than it should, in my opinion. So I'm not sure. I don't think I'm even gonna try to get a belt on this thing. I might just call it dead on arrival. It's really just not worth the risk of killing somebody by CO2 poisoning and giving my company a bad name. So, being a 36-year-old unit, I think it's time to call it. But I'm gonna see if I can inspect it a little bit more. I'd like to actually just pull this entire blower assembly off so I can get eyes on a heat exchanger, but the problem is I only got about 45 more minutes until this place closes, and it's gonna take me at least 20-30 minutes to remove all this wiring, unbolt the motor, pull that down, pull the blower assembly off, and then probably come to the same conclusion that I'm leaning towards right now, that it should just be replaced rather than repaired. So let me poke around here a little bit more, guys. I'll let you know what I decide here in just a little bit. All right, guys, let's recap this. So we had a hanging utility heater that was 36 years old, roughly, depending on the actual month it was manufactured. But anyway, I decided that it's no longer feasible, cost-effective, or safe to do any sort of repairs to this unit. And I based that on a couple different things. For one, obviously it needed a new belt. Obviously it needed a new drive motor because the motor bearing was squealing. Pulley came to a sudden stop, all that fun stuff. The blower bearing was getting kind of bad. It didn't come to a sudden stop when it spun by hand, but there was definitely some stiffness in that bearing that I didn't like. So that would have had been replaced. The heat exchanger was badly rusted. I didn't see any actual cracks on the heat exchanger, but I didn't get a lot of, I couldn't view it very well with my mirror, excuse me. And my boroscope that I had, as you've seen in the little clip that I showed you there, the quality on it isn't that great. It wasn't good enough for me to pick up like little hairline fractures or cracks or anything like that. Now, I could have got a better bird's eye view of that heat exchanger if I would have removed the motor and the blower assembly, but like I said, this place is closed now, but I had maybe 45 minutes to do that. And not that it's impossible to do with one guy on a ladder, but I would rather have another guy there to help me, one on each side, pulling down the blower motor and then the blower assembly, and then I can get eyes on the heat exchanger. And at that point, I mean, you're already spending a lot of money in labor. There's really no point putting that much money, that much labor and time and energy into a 36-year-old hanging utility heater that can be replaced for a couple $100. I don't know, maybe it's $600-700 unit, who knows. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell them it needs to be replaced. It's not safe, not cost effective or feasible to do any sort of repairs to it based on its age. So that's where we're at, guys. So thanks for coming along. I appreciate all you guys watching out there. Leave me some comments. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me, all right? We'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.